shows you, the Rambam says it shows you that the line from the Gemara about not eating and drinking shows you that the ultimate reward is not the resurrection of the dead, but rather is the world to come, which is a spiritual place. The Rambam says, okay, there is a short resurrection of the dead. Now, Rabbi Abulafia disagrees with that, and partly it's because he says, you can see it here, he says, I'm going to bring a lot of proofs that against the Rambam. He says, "Umi yishma elav davar zeh." Who can hear the Rambam? What the Rambam says, "Hashav avod Elokim, uma betza kishamro hagaviot mishmarto." What good is it? He says, this hope in the future, this hope in some kind of reward, he says, if it's not in the body, what good is it? You're going to be sort of kadoranit, you'll be sort of downtrodden before God. He seems to have this issue. And the Rambam had criticized him for this, or criticized others for this, which is that they think the ultimate reward has to be physical. They're materialists. And so he says, "Nachnu meisharim zedim," and he had brought this sort of other proof that from this verse that says that ultimately God will give the land latate lahem to them, meaning to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How's he going to give it to them if they're not alive? So he's trying to bring these proofs that resurrection is the ultimate reward. It's for a long time or forever, and it's body. Let's see, I want to skip down a little bit. If you're going to say, so maybe you'll argue back exactly what the Rambam argued, which is that if you want to have a body, you can't have a body without eating and drinking. And the Rambam had said, if you have a body with the Rambam had said more than that. He had said, if you have a body without eating and drinking, that's not something God would want, because then you have a body that is not, is for no reason. But he tries to bring a proof that you can have a body without eating and drinking. What's his proof? It's something the Rambam had addressed already, which is Moshe and Eliyahu. We see that Tzir Ne'eman Amad Bahar Hashem. We know that Moshe went up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't eat bread. He didn't drink water. And Elijah the prophet also did the same thing when he went to the mountain of God. Gamamayim hilakhu arayom hazeh. V'chiyomru chai yechyu ech yamutu acharei amdam. And if you'll say, if they're living, how are they going to die? Al tavo nafshi b'sodam ki ha'amnam lachud yilachaduni chevle sha'ol b'moksham lamali b'yom tov li ani sham. He seems to be saying that God will take care of. We don't understand how it works. In other words, that they're going to have this sort of physical, supernatural life in which they won't have to eat or drink. He seems to think that they will ultimately die after that. But how that works, he says, we don't really know. Or maybe they're going to live forever. Bala hamavet lanetzach, and he quotes a verse that God will get rid of death forever. And then he says, and maybe those who are very righteous will be like stars forever, right? There was this belief in the medieval period that the stars are the intelligences. Umi Omar ki ein yalin b'kirba chalila chalila milhatzdik kol medaber ba. Then he tries to address this question of, can you have a body resurrected even though it has disintegrated? He says, yes, it's miraculous. And he compares it to, he uses this verse from the Parsha last week or 2 weeks ago, where the midwives had said, "Oh, the Jewish women are chayotena; they're living; they give birth very quickly." His language is very flowery. All right. And then he says, Rabotai, Chachmei Lunel. He says, my masters, the rabbis of Lunel, your hearts should be a witness. And at the heads of you is, he lists some names here. Rabbi Yonatan HaKohen. He says, I want you guys on my side. 1 second. Sorry. So he lists some of the rabbis that he's speaking, that he's writing to. And then he says, I am sort of worried about this, I'm upset about this. When I heard that you love the Rambam's book, when I heard how much you like the Rambam's book, that made me very upset. When you say one person to the other, wow, this is amazing. Davar la'amor hagisha ha'efod, v'ulam ki itbonanti b'divrei sefer. But when I looked at the book, notein imrei shefer, I gave a response. Ech zos shima azni b'tavin. How can I hear these things and understand them? Ke'ein bar below heaven. Aval yesh asher ta'ala biyado hateshura v'natam lizro b'shura. Yesh asher ala biyado teven mispoi. It's a very strange language of, he says there are those who have teven, who have straw. Says you can't eat without having grain, without straw. I don't know what he means by this. And this is what I've drawn from the book. And then he goes on for more criticism. But these things are not about the resurrection of the dead, they're just sort of general. So he goes kind of back and forth. He does a little bit on the resurrection of the dead, and then he criticizes other things in the Rambam's book, detailed laws. And then we have a letter back from the rabbis of Lunel, back to him. It's funny, it seems like it's the same thing as before. Goes back to some of the issues that he discussed before that. And then we have this letter back from the rabbis of Lunel. It's been reprinted several times. Okay, here's the letter back. So they write a poem. And basically, they part of what they say is how great the Rambam is, and they sort of dismiss Rabbi Meir. They're really enamored of the Rambam for good reason. And And they make a lot of praises about the Rambam here. Therefore, listen. Listen to what we're going to say. Baruch Hashem im Elokim haya b'ezrecha. Sorry, I'm having a hard time looking for the parts I was hoping for. I'm gonna have to prepare this a little bit more. I didn't really get to read this over as much as I wanted. I apologize. Okay, I will find the relevant parts where they write back to Rabbi Meir and they basically say, the Rambam's our man, so lay off. Rabbi Meir does not succeed in convincing people against Rambam. So it's interesting, even in the Rambam's life, even when there were those who were burning the Rambam's books and were very opposed to some of his philosophical ideas, that he did make a tremendous impression. We call this the machloket about the Rambam. There were a lot of different sides to it. Okay, so I won't be here next week, but I'll see you guys the week after.
Okay, thank you. Safe trip.
Thank you. Be well.
Bye.